G'day everyone. Another podcast episode. Thanks for listening. Today, so we have Karlis. Actually, don't know how do you say your last name? Karlis.
Well, do you want me to say maybe the full name, how I would say in Latvian? Yeah. Karlis Pupols.
Okay. So we have Karlis Pupols.
Close enough. Close enough.
He's from Latvia originally, and he also arrived in Salzburg. When you come to Salzburg?
It was the start of 2018.
Start of 2018. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. You are you say holistic health coach.
Genau.
And so you're essentially, your goal in life is to help people become a better person, a more productive person, a more happy person in every way. Is that right?
Yes, I'll add a bit to that. I have a couple of goals in my life. One of the goals is to really help to make this place a better place. And other goal is to essentially help people move in their life, move towards their purpose, move towards their fulfillment, and also their life of happiness. And I see that one of the key aspects of this is our health, because I truly believe that our health impacts all areas of our life. And when I talk about health, I don't necessarily only mean food and nutrition, but also exercise, activity, stress management, sleep and rest, as well as mental and emotional being. So therefore where the holistic aspect comes from. And it truly brings me great joy and great satisfaction and great fulfillment when I get to see in people's eyes that they have grown, that they understand more, that they've learned more, and through that it brings more happiness, it brings more peace to them, it brings more love to them. You know, I truly believe that so many people don't value themselves, they don't really see how valuable they are. And when I get to help people see how truly valuable they are deep inside, oh wow. It just brings me warm feelings to my heart.
but that's awesome. And I think that because when I speak to you, you know, just as friends or just hanging out or whatever, I truly feel that you care about the fact, you know, about wanting to help and wanting to make this world a better place, you know, in your lifetime and your existence. And I think that's awesome. I think that that's something that, you know, we need more people like you, and you're doing a part. Right now, it's a little part. You know, you're trying to grow, but it's fantastic to see the passion in like your eyes, and you clearly care so much, and yeah, that's awesome. And so, but we got to start from 2018. So, how did you come to Salzburg? What's your story?
Okay. Well, my story is a very, very long one, but just for the sake of context of how I got here was I was working before in Latvia in an office type setting. Basically, I was working a data job. Okay. Pretty fancy data job by my friends because, I had a cool office job. I was wearing the fancy shirts, working with computers. Yeah, you know. But when it comes to financial matters, at the end of the month, I didn't really have anything left in my bank account because I always went for rent, for food, for just some other expenses. Maybe going out a few times, that's it. And I realized it's not sustainable for me because I also was, let's say, I had plenty of things that I wanted to get for myself, just let's say a better computer for the sake of work or a better phone, again, so that I can do more things with it. So I was like, okay, it doesn't work, so I have to find another plan. And as my mother already was living in Austria, and she lives here still, she lives near Graz, she had told me about Austria, and I was like, hey, Austria sounds like a pretty cool place. And so I applied to a bunch of places here in Austria, and actually one of the first places that replied was the place I ended up working for. Yep. It was essentially, how can I say it? It's an online entertainment company. Yep. Yeah, and primary requirement was essentially the English skills, and they were so not surprised, maybe that's the right word, but so astonished by my English skills, they basically told me the same day when we had the interview is that, hey, you want to come here? You come to Austria, you get the job. No, that's it. You get the job. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Yeah. Why not? But my main point of coming to Austria was essentially financial reasons, purely financial
okay.
reasons at the start, because I needed that cash, needed to sort some more things out in my life, had some debt that I had to clear.
Yeah.
And ended up working for almost 2 years. By the end of it, I was the trainer for the customer service department
Cool.
of the company. Pretty cool job, but I realized that was not something that I want to do in my life.
Yep.
I didn't truly believe that by doing this job, I was moving towards my purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of believed I was actually going the other way around. I was kind of going the opposite direction. And so I was like, okay, no, this doesn't fit. And then I decided to walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I still remember the look on multiple people's faces when they just saw me walking away and saw that I had no other job already, no other interview, no other company. And I was like, no, what? I'm just walking away. I don't, my own health, my own life is more important than the money or anything else.
Yeah.
And some of them even were like, wow, how can you do that? How can you just walk away? And I was like, you know what? I'm more important than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that takes a huge amount of courage to like you're in a stable position, you've got a job, you're paying rent, you've got all these attachments, right? If you, whatever country you're in or wherever you are in the world, everyone can relate to the fact that you need a job or you need income in order to sort of sustain. That's one of the, like you need to eat food and everything. So, and I remember, because I work at the same company, and I remember you saying to me like, hey, I'm leaving. And I was like, what are you doing? And I don't know, like I might go and try and be a ski or snowboard instructor. I think you told me at some point. And then I was thinking like, what is he gonna do? Like, how can you? But I find that awesome. I think that's, and you clearly have done well because you're happy. And that's like the main. That's the main thing that you need to have is to actually wake up and enjoy what you do every day.
And here, if I may add a story from past. An actual historic story. When I read it, I was quite shocked, but at the same time, it's a very radical way to get to a goal, and it worked in the end. I don't remember, there was this basically one ship captain, he had a crew, and there was a fortress that he wanted to take, an island fortress. And so the ships arrived there at the coast, and what he ordered his crew to do is to burn all the ships. He ordered that, burn all the ships. Basically, he said, there is no way we're going home. If we don't conquer this fortress, we're going to die because we don't have enough food for that. And while this is a very radical way to push yourself forward, in a way it can be beneficial at times because it forces you to be more fearless. Because that's the thing, is that I've experienced a lot of fear in my life, and I've experienced a lot of pain, a lot of difficulties, a lot of also traumas in my life. And so there was a time in my life where I believed and I thought that I could get away from fear at all, that I could fully let go of fear. It was already more when I was going on my, let's say, personal journey, self-exploration and also spirituality, I thought, okay, I can understand more about aspects of fear. I understand that a lot of times it's not very logical, it's primitive, comes from our primal psychology. And so I thought, okay, I can get rid of fear. I can just let it go like I've let go of so many other things. But then I realized, and not so long ago, is that I realized that doesn't work like that. That fear is actually something that it's inevitable and we cannot ever get away from it because it's part of our, let's say, survival instinct. We need some sort of fear. We need some sort of fear. It's because it essentially moves us forward. And that doesn't mean that fear, the thing is that fear doesn't have to have control over our lives, or fear even doesn't have to have power over our lives. And that's one of the big things, is that nowadays I see so many people, fear rules over them. And when fear rules over us, then we make decisions that help us keep ourselves safe, help us keep ourselves comfortable. And the crazy thing about this is very much tied to stress as well. The crazy thing is, so to say, is that people and we will rather choose something that is familiar, something that is known, but it can be very unpleasant. It can even be painful. We will choose that over something that is unknown. Because for the simple reason is something that is known, it's more safer, and therefore there are higher chances of survival. Everything that is known, everything that we are familiar with, increases our primal chances of survival. The thing is that when it comes to the DNA composition, humans nowadays don't really differ much from humans 30,000 years ago. And what simply this means is that our primal psychology, which was effective back then, still plays a key role today. It's in different form, but this psychology is still part of who we are. And so the end part about the fear is that one of the greatest lessons that I learned was that fear has no power over me. And when you, let's say, accept this to be fully true within you, you start to truly act like fear has no power over you. And then, you start to look differently at things. You start to look at these things that bring you fear and that are not necessarily going to kill you, like, I don't know, jumping off from a bridge, but something fear for growth. Actually, in the end, this fear gives you strength to move forward. Yeah.
So you, can you, because that sounds fantastic for a lot of people just to like let go of fear. Like it would, not let go of it, but just be able to control it more. So it sounds nice, but how do you do it? Or how did you do it? Or how would you say if someone's in a situation where they're like, don't do things because of the fact that they are scared of X, Y, Z, what would you do if you're in their shoes then?
Oh, it's a good question. And see, it's going to be a bit of a longer answer, and I'm going to have to establish some context here. The thing is that, where should I start? I will start with the fact that humans are very complex beings. Our psychology is very complex. And my passion is human psychology, human behaviors, understanding the subconscious, the deeper programming, also anthropology, and also just understanding of life. That's my passion. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And it's my job. That's why I'm a health coach. It's my job to know these things, to learn, to research, and afterwards bring this knowledge to other people. So, how I see it is that, let's say, there have been a couple of times when people came to me for let's say, various questions in health. Let's say there was one example when a person came and he wanted to exercise more in his life. He was like saying, I don't really, whether either I don't have time to exercise or when I have time, I don't feel motivated to exercise, but I know I kind of need that because I'm feeling more down and more like exhausted and tired. And I feel that that my life energy is becoming less and less. So I want to exercise and bring that more into my life. And okay, it's rather sounds simple and straightforward, and I'm sure the person expected me to just give him some, hey, do this exercise at home, boom, you're already set for life. But it doesn't work like that with me. So I see that all these things really come down to our core beliefs, our core programming, I would say, in what are the things that deep within us. So, for example, in the case of that person, what it turned out is that the person really truly didn't value himself. He didn't really value his own time. And so what happens is that he puts all the other things kind of more important of him. And so not only he would kind of give out his time too much for free, but at the same time, because he didn't really value himself. He didn't also essentially value the work he would put into himself, because exercise is a great work that we can put in ourselves. But if we don't, that's the thing, if we don't value ourselves, if nothing that we do will make us, will give that value. That's the thing with everything when it comes to our psychology, when it comes to our primal needs, is that only we can give ourselves what we need, so to say. Is that if there's a hole within us, let's say, when it comes to love, very prevalent thing for many, many people, and there's no shame, there's no judgment in that. It's just how we are in this world. We live I believe in a deeply traumatized society. Is that love? That's something that I see is missing for a lot of people. And one of the ways how we try to get love is through relationships and through other people. I was there too, because I had this very longing to be with someone and to experience love and to be with someone and share this experience. I was looking for that other person to kind of fill that hole for me. And only after a while I realized that as long as I don't fully love myself, it doesn't matter. The whole world could love me and I would still never have enough. Yeah. So where I'm going with this is that I believe that essentially the greatest work we can do and the most important thing we can do in life is work on ourselves, is to give attention to ourselves, give care to ourselves, give time to ourselves.
But you're saying that is a solution to this fear problem?
It comes there. It goes there. Yeah,
sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I'll get there because it's a bit of a longer story. Is that what happens is that the more we essentially value ourselves, recognize our own value, the more we give love, appreciation, kindness, acceptance, forgiveness, compassion for ourselves, all those deeply things that I would say soothe our heart, our spirit, our deeper part of ourselves. What happens that is by doing that we not only reconnect to ourselves, but we also reconnect to the whole universe because we are part of the universe. And what happened that in my case is that the more I healed myself, the more I changed the way how I was looking and how I was thinking of myself. Because that's the thing. I make this joke is that if limiting beliefs and crippling beliefs was a collectible card game, I would be at the grandmaster level because I would have like the rarest and the dopest and the fullest of decks, like these power cards of feeling that I'm not good enough, feeling like I'm not, and believing, that's the crazy thing, believing that I'm not worthy of love, believing that I have nothing to be proud of in my life, fully believing that. Oh boy, yeah. And so the more I worked on realizing my true nature, valuing my true nature, truly honoring myself and loving myself and giving me all that wonderful care, it naturally brought me in a state where I also felt more stronger. I felt more in connection with the universe, and I felt that I embodied more of that strength, and also my let's say my inner strength, that I embodied it more. The more I strengthened my connection to these things. The more I embodied this strength, the more I felt stronger, the more I realized, see, that's the thing, is that, let's say, a lot of people have fears for something. And, for example, fear of public speaking is a common fear that I've heard in many cases. Yep. And one of the ways to deal, how people say, is just do exposure therapy. Basically, just force yourself. Okay, and over a while, you just adapt to it. Mm-hmm. Sure, it can work, but I don't see that as the optimal solution, because you still have that kind of inner, because I think that fear that comes from public speaking is the way how we look at that situation. We have, usually people have fear that, let's say, they will be judged by other people. What will other people say? People might not accept them. People might get angry at them. People might I don't know, punish them if they say something wrong. These again primal fears, and it comes from the primal psychology. Is that we have a need for group. We have a primal need to be a part of a group. And when there's something that, let's say, threatens our acceptance by the group, then we're like, okay, it brings us fear, because deep down we don't want to get kicked out of a group. And so when we put ourselves in public speaking, it can potentially lead to us, let's say, saying something that can get us in trouble. And that's one of the ways where this fear comes from. It can be other things too. But where I want to go with this is that there's an internal cause for this. There's some kind of internal cause, how we look at, how we believe in that situation. And I believe that the right way to deal with this is go deep, really go as deep as we possibly can, and change this internal programming. Change this internal way how we look at the situation. And I see, when I look at humans, I kind of see humans as big meat computers or big meat machines, and we are in this driver's seat with our consciousness. But that's the thing, the subconscious part, it really functions like a machine. With what commands and what beliefs we have given it, those it will recreate in our lives. And therefore, also when it comes to, let's say, my own fears, is that I realized, and that's so funny when I look at it, when I know the techniques, is that I can have a fear that I've had for years. And in one evening, during one meditation session, I can fully let go, change the way how I look at it, because it's not just that you take something out, that the old belief that was, let's say, that's not serving you. You always have to replace it with something new. It doesn't work like that. Just take it out.
What fear was it? Sorry for cutting you off.
I've had a couple of fears. I can't really. Even the fear of kind of, for example, I had a fear of kind of this fear that I'm not really the expert. I kind of had this thought that, hey, who am I? I don't really, I have nothing really valuable to give. There was a time when I kind of thought that, hey, I'm just this random dude from this random country. Who am I really? Kind of like, but then, what I realized was that no, I'm essentially the expert, because I know so much and I've learned so much, and the other aspects of my characteristic make it all together. And so, yeah, I'm going very long on this, but the end point that I want to say is that I believe it all comes from within. It all really comes from within. It's it's self-analyzing, asking yourself these questions. Okay, why I have this fear? Why I have this fear? What's causing it? Going deep. And I believe that essentially all the answers that we ever are looking for are already within us. And once we limit our distractions, quiet the surrounding environment, and go deep with us, these answers just naturally are brought to us.
Yeah, but because I can't relate to, like you sound like, what experience have you physically done? Is it like meditation? You think like, okay, we'll go back to the fear of public speaking, and you sit with yourself with your own thoughts and you try and figure things out? Or how do you do it? Like literally, if Steve walked in here and said, hey, I want to get rid of this fear, you'd sort of say, well, I did this and this worked for me, so maybe you could try it, or something like that. Like what is a concrete example is what I'm saying. Like,
good, thank you. And I wanted to give a concrete example as well, so thank you for asking me that. Is that I'd say various self-reflection practices that could be meditating, yes. Another practice that I've used very often, and I believe it's helpful, is essentially journaling, but in the sense of unrestricted, kind of limited, unstructured way of journaling, where you simply write what you think. You don't really even let's say, you don't give much thought about what's coming. You're just writing, and combine that with asking the question self. That's what I've done a lot of times. I've asked myself, let's say, okay, why do I have this fear? Then I'm going to write this answer. Just what comes to my mind, I'm going to write it.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm going to ask my question, okay, why is it that? Where does it come from? Asking these deep questions to the self. Or, for example, just sometimes I've gotten to the same conclusion just being alone, walking, and listening to some music that is not, let's say, distracting, that allows me to think and be deep within my thoughts. All this kind of, what ties in together is you being by yourself, you being, let's say, putting the attention inwards, because it's very common for us to put all the attention and all the, let's say, focus outside, externally, on this thing, externally that thing, and not as much we put this attention to ourselves and bring it back to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I believe that, again, this is one of the practices which gives us the answers to these questions, which gives us the internal knowledge, and this knowledge essentially allows us to transform it. Once we learn more, we understand more, and we see that's when it comes to a lot of these fears, a lot of, let's say, these unconscious programming, they're effective, and they're the most effective when we're not aware of them, where we're not really aware of how they work and why they are there. When we're just kind of following those triggers, when it already, let's say, when the roller coaster feel already starts, we just follow these triggers, and in that moment, we're not really in a mood for analyzing. We're just acting. When it comes to this fear, we're just acting based on this fear. But the more in a state where we can be peaceful, where we can rest, where we can just kind of for a while quiet everything else and bring ourselves to rest, in that state, being by yourself, that's, I see, and this applies not just to fear, but essentially any deep personal question that we may have. What do I want to do in my life? Where do I want to go? These very deep self-learning questions. Yeah, I believe that to all those questions, the answers are within, and we just have to quiet and the surrounding distractions.
Because I'm putting it into a real life situation right now,
Okay.
and I'm trying to critique everything because maybe it makes for a good conversation. But
Okay.
if you were to tell someone, and I would just pick a person off the street and say, hey, look, if you what I'm trying to get to is a lot of people don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't want to hear, like, Tom, go sit in your room and think about your thoughts and whatever, and this is going to help you in the long run. Like, it's going to help. You got to try it. It's almost like having a fear to face your fears.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, a lot of people would laugh off that concept before they even tried it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I would apply that to a coaching perspective and think, okay, well, how can I go around this, right? How can I essentially peel away the fear of, peel away that first layer in order to get someone to
go
sort of
eat, go deep, so to say.
Yeah, know what I mean? Yeah.
Good question.
Have you thought about that, or have you like, what's your
Yes, it's a good question, and thank you for asking. So, the funny thing is, I was there too when I would distract myself, and there were times in my life when I was, let's say, I've been familiar with addiction in my life, and in the times when I had the greatest stresses, let's say, pains and fears, was a time when I spent the most time in these addictive behaviors. For me, it was video games. There were times when I would play video games for days, straight up nonsense, non-stop. And again, I was afraid of kind of going it in, facing it, all these things. I was afraid. A couple of things. One way to kind of start is ask yourself, what's the worst possible thing that can happen from this? What's the worst possible thing that can happen from this? And most of the cases, we cannot really die from that. You know, we cannot really die from just being by ourselves and sitting in the thought. Okay, we can get some heavy panic attacks. Yes, we can get an anxiety. We can feel very sad, depressed. Okay, these things can happen, but we're not really gonna die. So that's kind of already the good part, that we're not really gonna die from this, which can help give the first step, so to say. The second of all, the thing I want to talk about is that for me, it was the realization played is that if I don't do this, it's gonna be there until I do this.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the thing. When it comes to our deeper world, inner world, when it comes to our subconscious, there doesn't exist concept of time. Concept of time only exists in our conscious mind because we need a way for brains. We need a way to categorize events in our life, and perception of time. It's an easy way for us to categorize and memorize things. But for our subconscious, this time doesn't exist. It only ever is now for a subconscious moment.
True.
And so the time by itself doesn't really heal wounds or resolve it. It's only when we go back to these things that have happened to us, because that's the thing. All the pain, all the trauma, all the anxiety, it's already within us. All these triggers are already within us. If we have fears, it's already within us. So there's no new external things that are coming within. All these things are already present within us. And I realized that I could live 10, 20, 30 more years and try to avoid it, as I had done for several years in my life. I just avoided. So what I did is basically I piled all my fears and all my pains like behind a big dam, something like that, like a big dam. I was just piling them, and I would never focus on them. I realized that when I don't go and, let's say, open the dam, it's gonna stay there. It could stay there until my very last minute on this earth.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And this helped me to push myself forward, because then, see, that's the thing, is that when we allow these, let's say, if we're talking about painful emotions or painful experiences or traumas, when we allow these emotions to come out, when we allow this experience to come out, and to essentially, when we give it the space that it needs to be resolved, it just, these emotions, see this thing, emotions, every emotion is there to be felt. Every emotion is there to be felt, is there for our growth. Oftentimes, we all experience painful emotions and we all experience painful events. And in order to protect ourselves as a defense mechanism, we really try to shut it all off, shut it all down. And so, okay, we don't want to feel that. We don't want to experience that because it brings us pain and we don't want that. In order to again, let's say, in order to gain that happiness, that peace of mind, and that peace in life, we have to give these painful emotions space for them to come out, for us, for all those things that are within us, for those to come out. And for example, when it comes to letting go of these different emotions, there are also various exercises that could help. For example, there are several breathing techniques that I have practiced as well, which were specifically designed to help let go of the painful emotions. It was like an hour, an hour long breathing exercise, which you breathe in in a specific rhythm, and then it allows you to kind of let go and for the body to start to clean. But just by sitting by yourself and being present to these emotions, already that gives them a space for them to come out. And yes, there can be, and that's the thing. For me, there was so much. There were so many heavy things associated to it. There was also a lot of crying. There's been a lot of crying in my life. And there was a time when I was maybe even ashamed of crying. Maybe thought, oh, crying, or it makes me weak or whatever. But now I no longer see that crying makes me weak. It's a part of, again, letting go. It's a part of letting go of these things. And the good thing about it is that we cannot cry forever, because we're going to cry out, and then again, we again come to the state of this peace. This thing, state of peace and rest is the natural state of everything in life. Is the natural state of all beings. And when we give these emotions space to come up, to be resolved, for us to feel these emotions, we inevitably will reach the point of peace again. That's the thing. It's only when we try to run away from them, it's only when we try to fight them, to resist them, then they stay. But there's a saying, is that what we resist persists, and there was something with what we fight, we strengthen. Essentially, once we allow these things to come over us, and sometimes, that's the thing, when I was sitting by that dam, I felt at some point that I might die from all the things crashing on me. It really was that, because there was so much. But I didn't die. There's this feeling, but there can be a lot of fears associated, and for a lot of people there will be a lot of fears associated. But it's worth it. It's so much worth it. It's so much worth it. At the end of the day, see, if I had to, let's say, go back to the point where I was still in all my, let's say, when I was still behind that dam and I hadn't opened that dam, and it was all just sitting there for me. And if someone asked me, would I want to go through all my pains in life again, through all my fears, through all my struggles in life, would I be willing to go through all of them to reach where I am today? The answer is that I would go through even 100 times more pain to get to the point where I'm here. Because the point that I'm here, it's so much worth it. The work that we do for ourselves is so much worth it. So much worth it. So much worth it.
Yeah.
So much worth it.
Yeah, and I can see that you clearly are, as many people are, well, you were hurting a lot. There's so much pain that you had gone through. I think a lot of people out there have gone through pain, whether it's with your upbringing or however you go. And it's nice to sit and chat or hear someone that had so much struggle, that went through it, sort of found a way to, as you said, to come to peace with your fears and everything. And yeah, that's crazy. So I have a bit of a question, different topic.
Please.
A bit of a lighter topic. So just relating to my situation in Austria, the reason I came here, because this is sort of a part of the podcast too, is trying to relate to living as an expat in Europe. My question is, and I want to hear your thoughts here, is I know that there's people out there that strive for a relationship, as you said earlier, because it
Mm-hmm.
feels like they need that relationship in order for them to be happy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is quite prominent in younger people, from my opinion. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say from the age of, that's quite a broad range, but from 15 to, let's say, 24, 25, there would be some people that don't need a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to help solve their problems, but they feel like they want one. So they go into one, they bring all of their sort of internal emotional problems and whatnot, and it explodes at a certain point because it's not a match, it's not the right time, it's whatever. And I want to hear your thoughts on that, because like, I don't know. Yeah. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think? Did I explain that right?
Yes, I'm very happy to talk about it, because I already. So when you were asking me this question, in my mind it was really like such a story built up. It's like, okay, I got to bring some context in here again. Let's go. So I want to share from my own experience with this, and I believe it will, in a way, be the best way for me to illustrate my points and my ideas. Is that I have been, so now I'm 26, and I've been in 2 long-term relationships. One was when I was 16 for a year and a half, and the other was when I was 21 for 3.5 years.
Was that long-term relationships, or was that's probably medium-term relationships, isn't it?
I mean,
Doesn't matter, but
I'd say that for me, I thought that basically everything over a year you can really call a long-term relationship already.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah. I mean, but just the point to illustrate the context. Okay, so a bit of more from my backstory is that my parents divorced when I was very young.
Yeah.
And basically I kind of didn't really have a father figure in my life. I would see him maybe once or twice a year, so to say. And when I was growing up, I also didn't really had such a strong connection with my mother. So what happened is that I was feeling quite lonely for long periods of my life. Quite lonely, quite isolated. Yeah, kind of by myself. And so I had to figure a lot of things out by myself in life. In a way, now when I look back, I understand it's all part of my purpose and my development, and I needed those kind of challenges for me to grow and become where I am and to gain the kind of strength that I have today. But back then, oh boy, it wasn't pleasant. So my first relationship, when I went into it, as I was saying before, I wanted to experience this love, to be with someone, to kind of share the closeness, the touch. And also, because I was feeling lonely, I wanted someone to be with, to no longer feel lonely. I wanted to be with someone. So what happened is that I got very attached. In those relationship. And even though I felt like my heart was going through a grinder in the relationship. Yeah. And just for example, one thing that I can say is that my girlfriend at the time would very often break up with me for apparently no reason at all, and it really at that point messed up with my life, because it's like, oh man, it's I didn't see that there was a reason for there to be such a big drama, and it was kind of on and off, and it was difficult. It was very difficult for me. Again, I was attached, because I was attached. I was like, no, don't take this love away from me. Don't again bring me back to the point of sadness and alone. And okay, but but in the end, it was a very good learning experience for me. Very good learning experience, because I got to learn so many new things, and I already got a good experience dealing with various relationship problems. And what I understood is that, let's think, when two people are in a relationship, both of them bring what they have on the table. That's all the good parts, and that's all the bad parts too. It's unavoidable. And sometimes the interesting part is that when we are just by ourselves, we cannot really even see all our bad parts, so to say, or let's say see all our limitations or these things that.
No, especially when you're a 15-year-old kid or an 18-year-old kid with 1,000 tons of peer pressure and alcohol and everything like that.
Yeah, and in many cases, I see that going into a relationship can be very beneficial for the development, because you experience new situations, you experience new challenges, new problems, and you also get to learn more about yourself. One more thing is that when it comes to nowadays, I see that, yeah, again, because I see that our parents' generation, let's say, they have a lot of traumas already from, especially, you know, when we look at the Europe and history of Europe, you know, there's been a lot of wars and a lot of, let's say, difficult times, which leave a mark. This stress, this great psychological stress leaves a great mark, and when kids are born, you know, when kids grow up, they inevitably take the stress of their parents too. And if their parents are stressed, it's actually, you know, it's the crazy thing about here is that it's actually scientifically proven that if the parents experience great psychological stress, the children can have health problems and various mental problems in life just from just from the stress that their parents experience.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because the kids, they sense these things, and they absorb the stress also from their parents. Yeah. And they might not be able to understand where this stress comes from or why is there stress, but they will feel it. They do feel it when the parents are stressed, and you know, that also oftentimes the stress of parents also oftentimes affects how much love can they give to the kids, because love for growing kids very, very important. Very, very important. Much more important than it may seem. Okay, then moving on to my second relationship is that when I was coming in, I already had worked a lot more on myself. I already had experienced lows and ups, and I was already peeled back a couple of layers of old negativity and old, let's say, limiting beliefs and parts of me. But no, I still was incomplete in the sense that I still believe that there were some holes with me, and I still wanted to fill these things, you know, when it came to approval of other people, validation, and just, yeah, I wanted to feel like that I had something to be proud of, you know, and I wanted also for other people to see that they're also proud of me for who I am as a person. And again, I was kind of going into this relationship part of me because I wanted to give and I wanted to learn, I want to experience more, I want to love more, but also part of me because there were some holes which I wanted to fill up with this other person that I would be in. And these 3.5 years, very, you know, full of ups and downs, full of moments of great love and full of moments of great conflicts as well. Mm-hmm. Very, very great for my development because, again, I get to learn so much these relationship skills, which, again, are social skills too. And not only do we learn new skills, which we can use in life, but also we get to learn more about ourselves. What do we truly want? That's another very important question that we need to ask ourselves, and we need to ask ourselves often, what do I truly want? What do I truly desire? Because when we don't know what we desire, then, again, how can we know what kind of person we want to be with? You know, how can we know what are the things we want in life if we don't really know? We're kind of going in more like blind and just testing it out. And the thing is, I don't see that the fact when two people come together in a relationship and then they break up, I don't see that as a bad part. I don't really think it's bad. Yes, okay, it can oftentimes come with heartbreak, with pains. It's part of life. It's part of how we grow. It's part of what makes us stronger. And so what I want to say here is that, and what helped me so much more is that living by myself after, you know, my last relationship we ended, spending by myself, living by myself, so helpful, so much helpful. And so where I want to go with this is that I see that in life, in this area, like many other areas, is all about the balance. And what I mean by that is neither of the two extremes are the way to go. So when it comes to relationship, neither the extreme of never going into relationship and just living by yourself is the way to go, or the other extreme where you're just always in a relationship and always with somebody and you don't spend time with yourself is the way to go. Because both of these, both of these aspects give a unique perspective. They give unique learning opportunities. They give such a great value because you get these different things from each of these, whether you're in a relationship or whether or not you're living alone. But what I want to say is, and the end part is that I absolutely believe that for every single person who really wants to develop a long-term relationship and create this long-term relationship and find this long-term partner who they could start a family with, I believe that every single person should live for, I don't know, at least half a year to maybe a year by themselves. Because the things that I learned when I was living by myself, now I look back and I see that there was no way I could have learned those things while I was in a relationship. There was no way. Because in a relationship, there's different dynamic. You have to spend more time in a relationship. You have to give more energy there. You have to invest more of yourself there. When you're by yourself, you can essentially give all the attention to yourself. And it also allow me to propel further in life. So that's the interesting part, is that by being out of a relationship and being by myself, it essentially allows my next relationship to be better, because I have brought myself more. There's more things I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I know more clearer what is the kind of person that I want to be in a relationship with. Making sense? Or
Yeah.
Did this also answer your question, or did it leave some parts unanswered?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did, 100%. I wanted to dive into that topic because I think it relates to everyone, and my personal opinion on the topic was that a relationship should be it shouldn't be an option to solve the problems that you have internally. It's so weird. When I was traveling by myself, I had a lot of instantly. So originally my friend left me and I was left to travel alone. And then that came with a lot of anxiety and fear. I remember going to a place in backpackers in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. And I was just walked into the place by myself, filled with anxiety, walked up to the desk. It was not like, it wasn't even necessary anxiety. It was just like a normal activity, you know. It wouldn't matter if I was doing that by myself or if I was with a friend of mine. But for some reason, I just freaked out, and I was just going into this room, and then like a big hostel room. So there was like, I don't know, 12 beds in this dorm room. And then like, I remember sitting on my bed thinking, like, twiddling my thumbs, what am I going to do now, right? And then these 3 British girls come in, and they're like all in a group. So there's me that's just like by myself entirely. And then I see like a group of people, and that makes me freak out even more, because I'm like, I'm alone. I'm fully alone. Like like everyone else is with groups and stuff. And it lasted me a day and a half or so, and I am extroverted. So I do tend to gain energy from conversating with people and meeting people. So that was on my side. But it took me about a day and a half before I realized that this is not hard, and this is the opposite. This is like, when you get really into it, it's blissful. Like, you can actually thoroughly enjoy your not only alone time, but you can go out and meet people. It's the independence that comes with that. For me was fantastic, because I was leaning towards like, I'm alone now. I need to find someone to not make sure I'm not alone. The reason I searched for that was fear, right? I didn't want to be alone, so I wanted to. So it's like you said before, you're trying to fill your own holes by putting someone else there, you know. Then I came across Maria at this exact same hostel as well. Well, she was there. She met me there as well. Like, she came from Cambodia. And it was a crazy story that I haven't told on the podcast before, but she basically arrived, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of enjoying like traveling alone right now. Maybe we just don't travel together. And she like was really upset, because she was going through the stage of basically, she went through that exact thing I just explained. I'm alone now. I need to find someone to help me travel, right? And at that point I had a day and a half of basically realizing that I can be alone, and then she hadn't had that opportunity yet. She was also sick, so I'd walked in and I said, hey, look, I don't think like I kind of want to be alone. Like I like, it was, I don't know, it was such a crazy moment. She got upset, and then we ended up chatting about it over dinner at night, and decided to keep traveling. I think the main problem was that we were just going to travel entirely as friends and sort of be buddies on this trip, and it ended up working out. But the crazy thing is that I want to say now is that relationship we have now is crazy. We can be together all the time. We can do all this, like everything together. But it started from a conflictual situation where we weren't in love. It wasn't this lovey-dovey, like, oh, I saw him for the first time, or I saw her there and from the first day, or we went on this Tinder date or whatever. It was just like this. We went through the rough, complicated situation on day one, and then we realized straight away who we are. I looked her in the eye. I was like, I'm not going to date you. You're not going to date me. Let's just try and have fun together. And that's how it started. And then we ended up creating this relationship and building the fact that we actually really get along and work well together and everything. And for me, that's something I'm very grateful for. And that's why I try and tell people is that you don't need to search for a relationship. You need to figure out how to be alone first, and then the relationship should come to you. That's my thing. Yeah.
And what I want to just I really enjoyed the story and how it's, and I can see that in your eyes that it brings you happiness. It really brings you happiness, and I'm happy to see that.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say from my experience, it was very similar in the sense, no, not in that sense, but in the sense that before I got into my second relationship, there was time when I was going on to dates, getting some Tinder chicks, so to say.
Yeah.
But it didn't really click with any of them, and either I didn't get the dates, or the dates that I went on was like, nah, this doesn't really fit me. And so what happened, I decided, you know what? I'm tired of spending so much time looking for this. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm just going to focus time on myself, and that's it. I'm going to be focusing on myself. And then, it was like a month, something like that later. Then it just happened. Again, I let go. It's funny. Because when I let go of that need to have those things. Like, you know what? I was like, you know what, universe, if you don't give me, fine. I'll be by myself. I'll be good just the way I am. Fine. I'm not going to chase it. And the interesting thing also about the kind of chasing part and wanting this part is that if we look at the deeper psychology, is that if we want something, it implies we don't have it. And if we chase something, again, it kind of implies we don't really have it. And because internally there's only ever now, if we don't have it, then we don't have it. So it's sometimes very paradoxical when it comes to our deeper psychology. And I was there too when I was like, what? Wait. How am I supposed to let go of the need for that, but then get it? What? How does this work? And I would have to go into a very long conversation about this, but in short, it works by the sense is that, I do believe that we attract the kind of people that fit our vibe, so to say, that fit our state of being, and we attract people and essentially people that we resonate with in life. Those people that we don't resonate with, we're gonna meet once or twice and be like, okay, we all have those situations like, nah, we don't have that connection with that person, But once we get that matching of the, let's say, the internal vibration and the state, that's when we're like, okay, and that's something we can feel it. Oftentimes we don't really know, again, how it all works, but just like we feel it. I feel that with this person, we get the good vibe going. And it just shows that love of how the harmony is, between two beings. And essentially, how does that work? Is that we have to first align ourselves in that direction, into that state where we would like to be in the future. What I mean by that is that while we chase that external thing to feel us, to give us that validation, to give us the relationship for that whatever need, again, we're chasing it. We have these goals and we don't have it. But when we change the way, we can, again, go deep, go within us. This kind of, I'm returning to this point of going within ourselves and focusing back the attention to ourselves. Then once we bring more self-love, bring more validation, what's going to happen is that what we give to ourselves, we will naturally receive from other people as well. And that's interesting. That's an interesting thing, because other people, let's say, when we value ourselves and when we realize, okay, we have a great value. We believe that. What happens is we essentially act that way. We project that. We have this appearance about ourselves. And what happens is that other people pick it up. They sense it. It doesn't really happen consciously, but they pick it up, and they subconsciously, automatically also start to think that you have high value, and they believe that simply because you believe that about yourself, and you display that within us. And other people pick it, and they're like, they just accept it. They believe it too.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And that just kind of ties in together, is that for those who want the relationship, is that work on yourself, let go of the need to have that relationship, give yourself all those things that you would want to receive from the other person.
Yeah.
And then in time,
and then get on Tinder.
Yeah, well too,
And then
but in the time it will come. It's no doubt. I have no doubt about that. It all comes. We have to allow these things to come.
100%. Yeah. We'll close off soon because we're running out of time. But I want to say, so your whole spiel is I think that's an English word. Spiel.
Game.
Yeah, but I hear English speakers say it. Your whole thing is helping people become better human beings in all sorts of aspects. How can someone get in touch with you to help? Because you gotta share your side of the.
I'd say the easiest way is on Instagram.
Yo.
KarlisPupols, just together, Karlis Pupols.
Yeah.
And I'm there.
And you got all these videos popping up, and
just I can just say from this is that I have a health and wellness Q&A running now, basically where people ask me questions, and then I make videos about them and I explain some topics about health and so on. And this week the topic is stress management.
Sick.
And so it's until the weekend, so if anyone wants, you're free to ask me any question you want, and I'll make a content for you guys.
Yeah, I'm loving the clicking too. Every video starts with this. What's up? That's like your thing.
Yeah,
you got to keep doing that forever now. The clicking vibe. Not good, but thanks so much for sharing